Man, the T-Wolves made a statement against the Suns in Game 1, destroying the Suns on the boards 52-28, winning the game by 25 as Anthony Edwards was easily the best player on the floor. That did include the Suns' big three of KD, Book, and Beal. So, Keyshawn, you've loved the Suns since the season began. Scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you about a Minnesota now favored by 3 in Game 2?
I'm not overly concerned. I would probably say that I'm probably at a 6.
Yep.
When you look at it, I think it goes to 7. I think these guys get it turned around. And, you know, they may go back. They may go down 2-0. They may go down 2-0 and have to head back to Phoenix and even the score. But I think it goes 7. One thing that you mentioned in all of this is Anthony Edwards. They've got, you know, you got to figure out how to make him uncomfortable. Because in all, as far as like Paul likes to talk about canceling people out, if you take Anthony Edwards and you take KD and just cancel that right on out. Now, what about the rest? You know, you're paying Grayson Allen all this type of money to shoot the ball, gives you nothing. Gives you nothing.
He just had one of those games.
Okay?
Yeah.
Well, he's had one in the last several games.
Yeah.
Since he's gotten paid, he's been like, all of a sudden, a different type of player. Now you say, okay, well, what's the answer for Karl Anthony Towns? Is there one? Do you have one? Doesn't seem like that they have one. Rudy Gobert, you know, cleaning up the boards, blocking shots, doing things, harassing people. Now you get to Bradley Beal and Booker, and you would obviously think at the beginning of the year, like most of us, that when you added Bradley Beal to the equation, that they was going to be one of the top teams in the Western Conference. Now, do I think that they still trying to figure things out? Yeah, I do. I still think they're trying to figure it out.
You guys a little late for that.
Yeah, it is a little late. As they say, is late early. They don't have a true point guard.
Nope.
Right? I mean, like, who's really there? If Booker is a guy that you expect to set the offense up and a high-usage guy who wants to shoot the ball and do things, and then you got KD, him and Booker, basically the same guy.
Yep.
Now you say, well, is Bradley Beal? Well, now you got 3, essentially, of the same guys.
Yeah.
You essentially got 3 guys that are all the same, that they want to shoot the ball. They high-usage guys. They got to have a ball in their hand to be able to deliver for the team.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that they got to figure out that particular position on who's going to set the offense up for them.
Well, Skip, Keyshawn, I saw a number of things in this. First thing that stood out was the edge, the swagger that Anthony Edwards brings.
Yeah.
I mean, from a young kid, I saw him talking junk to KD.
He did.
Like, serious, in a playoff game? In a playoff game, this young pup, well, he a young dog to me, talking to KD, he said, and then after he's like, yeah, that's my idol. But you're
but he's
talking
telling
to him,
I got now.
like he's like, now it's no longer idol. This idol stuff ain't going on no more. I'm not wide-eyed no more of you. We're rivals now. When idols turn to rivals. And just when I saw the matchup, the Minnesota Timberwolves look like the Minnesota Monstars.
Yeah, they did. That's a good one.
To the Phoenix Suns. They just was looking overly bigger than them, stronger than them. And it was just like, they go 6'9" with Jaden McDaniels, 7 feet with Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert, and then you get to Anthony Edwards, who's listed at 6'5", but he plays like he's about 6'10".
He does.
I mean, the way he flies up and dunks and flexes on them, they look like the Minnesota Monstars.
And by the way, then Naz Reid comes in. He's 7 feet tall, and he shoots threes.
And same with Alexander Walker.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm not sure. This is a bad matchup when you look down the line for Phoenix Suns, because McDaniels, he's covering Booker, he's covering Durant, he's covering all. He's 6'9". His wingspan is bothering Booker clearly. And then on the other end, he can knock down shots. I mean, he's not going to give you much on the offensive end, but clearly he's bothering Booker. And they got a number of defenders they can throw at Booker. So they're saying, look, all right, maybe we can let Durant get his, he's probably almost impossible to stop. But if we can slow down these other guys, it gives us a chance, and that's what they was able to do. I wish that Minnesota did a better job at taking advantage of Karl Anthony Towns on the post, because I think he has a clear advantage on KD on the inside, because a couple of times they doubled him once. He found Gobert streaking down the lane where he dunked the ball. And then another time, he scored on KD. So I think they should take more advantage of that. But this is a terrible matchup because Minnesota has a bench that guys you can rely on. Naz Reid is great off your bench. Alexander Walker, great off your bench. And then you got slow-mo Cal Anderson, who's steady, who brings solid defense.
He got hurt the other day, and I'm not sure what his status is.
Yeah, I don't know what his status is. But Phoenix has no bench, and I had Phoenix before this series. But the more and more I look at the matchups, the more and more I look at the Monstars versus the Suns, I'm not sure that they can beat Minnesota, especially with Anthony Edwards playing like this.
Okay, to Keyshawn's first point, Grayson Allen led the NBA in three-point shooting, led it, and got his money. And the other day, he misses his first three, and they say, come on over here and sit down. And he sat for the rest of the game at 0 for 3. So he gave you 4 points on 4 free throws. He's capable of making 9 or 10 threes. We've seen him do it several times.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's been cold for a couple weeks, though.
That is true.
Since he signed?
No, since he signed. It happened to Austin Reeves. You get your big deal, and all of a sudden people are like,
Where'd you
do
go?
it.
Where'd you go?
Got to see you. Yeah. All right. I've never been a big Nurkic fan, but they've been bragging about him. You know, we got a big guy who can bring it in the middle, and I'm looking at Nurkic. Yeah, he just looked like tiny.
Yeah,
he
against the Monstars.
Yeah, against the Monstars. He had 4 rebounds in 27 minutes. 4 rebounds. And I'm not a Gobert guy. We question his toughness, but I got to tell you, every time I look at the box score, I say, well, I can't argue with that and that, because the productivity is extreme. It's why he'll probably win Defensive Player of the Year again. But when you come up with 16 rebounds and 6 offensive rebounds, it's just hard to deal with it. He's just so long and skilled and smart, because he's been doing this for a long time. He is hard to deal with.
We got to get him in foul trouble.
Yeah, but they didn't the other day, because he had 4. But you can. But man, it did look like a mismatch. But I'm still all about Phoenix, except for I said from day one, who's your point guard? I didn't like it at the end of last year when Chris was out. So I'm not saying that Chris Paul is that guy still, but they do miss a Chris Paul because they don't have him. And I watch Mike Conley Jr. He's been playing for like 24 years because he used to play against my Spurs, but he makes the other team go. He is really a shrewd operator. He gets the ball where it's supposed to go, and he always leads them in assists. He had 7 the other day, but you know, Book tries to play point forward or whatever he is, and there's a lot of responsibility on him. And then, to your point, Jaden McDaniels just bothered. He's 6'9". He's just so long. He's all over him.
Him a lot.
Yeah, so he winds up with 5 assists, and Beal has 6 assists, and KD has 1 assist, and they don't have a head to the snake. They got a snake, but it's like headless, because you got to have somebody to get the ball where it's supposed to go when it's supposed to get there. And they just looked completely overmatched and out of sync. And it may be just a bad matchup. I'm with you. I picked Phoenix before, and I'll stick with them. But, Keyshawn, you make the point. I'm not sure they can win game 2, and then they're going to have to go home and say, okay, let's slowly start turning this around. And maybe you have to go win game 7 on their court. That's what it's going to boil down to.
Yeah, I don't like Booker in that role either. He has to consolidate, like, when do I be a passer
versus
a scorer? Versus a scorer, because to me, I look at him as the ultimate scorer. I saw a guy that got 40 points pretty much every night in the finals.
He did.
And then I saw a guy that went to Boston versus some years ago against one of the great defenders that Boston had, Avery Bradley, and scored 70.
He scored 70.
And I'm like, I don't like him at the point guard, because I need this guy just thinking score, put the ball down, get to the basket. You know, there was a few years ago, there was like, this guy could be the next Kobe, the way he scored the ball. You know, and I'm not giving him those comparisons, but it was put out there.
Yeah, it was.
It was put out there.
It was.
And so when he got to consolidate and pass and doing all these other things, I think it really takes from his game. And so maybe that player can be Beal if he can just be the guy who brings it up and say, look, I'll take a sacrifice. But it's just so late in the season for them to just turn and morph into different type of players when they're up against the Monstars.
Yeah.
It's just going to be tough to do because this kid, Anthony Edwards, the way he moves, the way he shoots, the way he took over that third quarter.
You got a lot of Keyshawn in him.
He looked like the best player in the league. For one quarter, he looked like he was the best player in the league.
Don't go Jordan and we'll be okay.
No. I'm not going to go as far as say Jordan.
Go Keyshawn. We saw a young Keyshawn. I'll buy that.
He's aggressive like that.
Yeah. I'll buy that.
All right, young Keyshawn.
Yeah.
But he just looked like the best player in the league. And just talking to them, I just couldn't believe the way he was talking to Booker.
That's how he's supposed to be.
Talking to KD.
That's how he's supposed to be, though.
I get it, but you just don't see young players do that. And we in a league where guys don't talk no more. Guys use social media or say something after the game.
Man, that's them. That's not him.
Now, I mean, this kid, I'm sold.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go get some of his shoes.
Just because
I'm gonna put an order in for some Edwards.
Just because
they win this series.
Just because before I got in the league, I idolized you when you was at OKC. I idolized you when you was at Golden State and whatnot.
Yeah.
No more.
Not no more.
No.
Not no more.
Please, man. I'll give you stories all day long.
That was just kind of shocking to me. That was just kind of because I don't see this in the game no more. This is
But you don't have you only got probably
3 or 4 guys like
maybe
that.
4.
And probably 3 or 4 of them is going to be out the league pretty soon.
No, but I'm talking about young dudes. You only got about 3 young dudes that's wolves. The rest of these dudes, you see them, Paul, they just kind of like happy to be here.
We might be seeing a changing of the guard right in front of us. I mean, Anthony Edwards versus Idol, and then if they put them out,
well,
that's going to speak volumes.
You brought up a couple of weeks ago about Kevin Durant. As all-time great as he has been, lately in the playoffs, he has not been. So
I mean, his individual stats they don't speak for themselves.
They look 11 out of 17.
And he had 31 points, period.
I got it. But at some point, he's going to have to take it up one more level and be super-duper star. Hey, that's who they are.
I get it, Skip.
Yeah.
He's on your board. I got it.
But you got to go, man.
Easy.
You got to go. This is it. All right. If tonight's fourth quarter is close in Denver, this is the question.
The GOAT will take over.
What do you expect from the guy that Keyshawn says is the GOAT?